This is the CitizenLink Report.
If you find our insights helpful, would you support our video efforts? Your gift of $25 or more goes a long ways. Covers the crew, lights, cameras, all that. Just click on Donate. Thanks from all of us. We're coming to you from St. Louis, where Tom actually got conservatives and libertarians to sit down and talk to each other. This is the CitizenLink Report. Hi, I'm Stuart Shepard, along with our CEO, Tom Minnery. Hi, Tom.
Hello, Stuart.
Now, this is CPAC St. Louis, which is a regional version of the big conference that's held in D.C., but frankly, this one's pretty big.
Oh, it's fun, and let's just mention what CPAC is. That's a Conservative Political Action Conference. That brings together the strains of the broad conservative movement together around common themes, and people are in St. Louis, packed to the gills in this room, happy to have some of the well-known leaders of the movement speak to them today.
Now, as you've been talking to people, what are they saying? What's the mood of conservatives from the midsection of the country here?
People are upset. They're upset with Washington. They're upset with the course of the government. They're upset with the fact that we can't decide whether we're in and out of Syria. They want to know what's wrong with our national health care. They want to know how can we stop Obamacare. They want to know a lot of things, and they're not getting many answers because answers don't come until we have elections.
Now, he's a bit of a rock star today. I was surprised at this. Usually at this kind of event, when the panel discussions begin, everybody skips out, gets food, or goes to the exhibit hall to find whatever freebies they're handing out. You did a panel discussion this morning, as we're standing here recording, that the room filled up. People came in to hear what you had to talk about. On the cab ride in this morning, I shared the cab with a guy from Generation Opportunity. It's an outreach to young conservatives. He was excited about the panel. When I told him where I worked, he said, "Oh yeah, you guys are doing that panel on conservatives and libertarians." Tell me what you were aiming for with this conversation.
I'm glad to do it. I have been concerned with the rise of libertarianism within conservatism. Not that there's not much we agree. Social conservatives agree with libertarians on a lot. Libertarianism, though, Stuart, is all about me, myself, and I. It's leave me alone, get government off my back, out of our lives, and that's all well and good. But when you read the platform, you realize they're also talking about no such thing as a government license to control anybody's sexual expression. So no marriage, no rules limiting abortion. They take a good thing and they shove it to the walls, and I don't think that's good. And I wanted people to pause, to think about these things, and to realize something important, Stuart. If we knock out the laws protecting the family, the marriage laws, we're not going to reduce government, we're going to increase government, because kids who are not raised within a solid, intact home headed by a mom and a dad have much more likelihood of requiring there to be more cops, more social service agencies, more courts, more judges. I mean, we're talking about fatherless boys, and they wreak havoc if they are not controlled in a family atmosphere. So I wanted them to think a little bit about the end result of what they call their goals. A free country has got to be led by free people who have within them some kind of moral gyroscope to help them do not just what they want, but to help them to do what they ought. And in Western civilization, that inner moral gyroscope has come from a sense of virtue which emanates from biblical tradition.
Now let's talk about that. That's what Tom shared in summary in the panel this morning. Tell me about the other three people on the panel, and then we'll play a clip from each one.
Well, Jeff Neal is the chairman of the Libertarian Party, an interesting individual who said, I defend the platform, but I didn't write it, and we may well change it.
Well, now what we're seeing in today's world is really simple. Even Matt Drudge came out and said, it's not about Republican or Democrat anymore. It's about libertarian versus authoritarian. Because the power structure in in Washington, it's getting to be very difficult to distinguish between the Republicans and the Democrats. Why would we have a Tea Party or even a Libertarian Party if that wasn't true? So For libertarians, it's not about left or right. It really is about right or wrong.
So I want you to put some of that good stuff in it that was said by another guy on the panel, and that was Matthew Spaulding. Matthew Spaulding from the Heritage Foundation has written a wonderful book about the founding and the Constitution called We Still Hold These Truths.
Can libertarians and social conservatives get along? Of course they can, as long as they remember that the true fusion of ideas is not a policy matter, it's a matter of principle. America's principles remind economic conservatives that morality is essential to limited government, just as it reminds cultural conservatives that unlimited government is a fundamental threat to moral self-government.
Also, we had a man named Doug Bandow. Doug is with the Cato Institute in Washington, D.C. That's a libertarian organization. However, Doug has written very sensitively and very thoughtfully about the importance of the Bible in politics.
I think if you look at both libertarianism and conservatism on most issues, we come together. The government should be small, it should be limited, it should be constrained. Individual rights should be constitutionally protected. Broadly speaking, it's what Grover Norquist talked about with the leave us alone, stay away, let us live our lives. Let us bring up our families, let us provide for our needs, let's work in our communities, leave us alone. The battle for these goals is strengthened if we work together. Think of Obamacare. Expensive, inefficient, destroys individual choice, takes away our opportunity to decide for ourselves the most fundamental decisions on health care. Also destructive of individual conscience and religion, mandating that one must, whatever one's faith perspective, cover procedures one finds sinful. Bring those arguments together, much more powerful. Arguments that all libertarians and conservatives can agree upon.
Now, I have to point out, Tom, something weird also happened after the panel discussion. I have never seen, at least in my recollection, have never seen a panel at one of these things get a standing ovation. But you did.
Thank you, and we're done. I think what it is all about, Stuart, is the fact that people desperately want to unite. People want to get in charge. People want to have a better election next time around. They're eager to work together. And I think they saw glimmers of hope for the various strains of conservatism to work together. That's probably why they got excited.
Now, we are sponsoring this event, as we have for several years now. Tell me why it's important for CitizenLink to put money on the table for an event like this.
Stuart, we feel like, with the help of our constituents at CitizenLink, we feel like we're establishing a beachhead for values, for godly principles. We're in a sea of people that want to talk about cutting taxes, who want to talk about cutting government, who want to talk about getting out of Syria, getting away from the world. Well, that's not all that conservatism is about. Conservatism is about the need for a virtuous people to be a free people. Virtue comes from moral principle, which comes from biblical values in Western civilization. It always has. And we need to establish the beachhead and expand our influence in this wider circle of conservatism.
All right. Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
And thank you for watching. Again, we're here at the CPAC in St. Louis. If you'd like to write to us and give your opinion about how conservatives and libertarians might work together, similarities and differences, we're always open to your comments. You may write to us at mail@citizenlink.com. And remember, wherever you are, stand tall and be heard.